Hey guys, welcome to today's video. Today's video I'm going to be showing you how to clean your mechanical keyboard safely without breaking it and in pretty quick time. Obviously this whole process will take you quite a while, so just bear that in mind and plan it on a day when you don't have anything planned to do or something like that. Or do it on a day when you're not going to be needing your computer because you won't have your keyboard on access throughout the whole thing. So without further ado, let's get started. So some of the items that you are going to need is obviously your switch remover, keycap remover. Preferably, I'd not prefer these ones. I would not recommend them as well because obviously they do leave scuff marks and little lines on your keycaps. I'd recommend getting a wire one. This is obviously a long process, but obviously can, it can be, a little fun process. Put on some music, relax, and then just do it when you don't have anything planned, free time. But also when you are drying your keycaps, make sure it's on a day when you've got something planned so that obviously you don't have to worry about needing your keyboard. Obviously then you will obviously need, the jug to, clean your keycaps, and obviously a brush. I'd preferably use a nail brush or a dish brush instead of just using a normal paintbrush because the paintbrushes are kind of small, and so I just use a slightly bigger one which is quite large, as you saw in the first clip. So as you can see, some of my switches came out with my keycaps. So that's only because I have a hot swappable keyboard, and also because of the keycaps are very snug on the stem of the switch, and because it's so tight, when I pulled it off it actually removed it from the switch, but you can obviously just separate them and then put it back in the keyboard. So as you can see, it's all clean now. I'm going to plug it in, make sure it all works fine and all the LEDs work. You can see it lights up beautifully. Love the RGB on this keyboard, it's absolutely amazing. Would recommend it if anyone else is buying a new keyboard. But there you go, so that's the keyboard, it works fine. Now to clean it. As you can see on the keyboard, there's a few holes and a line on the spacebar. The spacebar, that's just to where you put the wire in, and there should be a hole somewhere in the top right, as you can see next to where the tab button would be on the right side. So that's just a hole there. So I'm using this brush, and I'm just going to brush away from those holes and into one corner. So make sure to try and avoid any holes because you don't want it to go underneath the PCB, because we're not cleaning underneath there because we're not doing a thorough. This is just a somewhat, where there's going to be obviously a lot of dirt rather than the small bits underneath. So brush it all down, make sure you get it all out of the play. I'd probably do it over a bag, so then you can just put the bag in the bin. I did it onto my, onto my mouse mat, which I kind of regret doing because now I've got to wash my mouse mat. I'll make a video on that if you want me to. So yeah, once you've cleaned it off, you're good to go. Now that you can put that aside, that's all done for now. You can just let that, just sit somewhere. Make sure that you don't, make sure you don't put anything on it. You want to make sure that obviously, it's not gonna get damaged or something while it's like that. Obviously the keycaps and stuff like that, make sure none of the switch stems are just stuck down, stuff like that. You can obviously clean in the switches. I wouldn't recommend pushing them down. Make sure it's a light brush that isn't going to obviously push the switches down, and do it in between the switches, not so much on top of it and inside of it. So I have all my keycaps in my jug. Now to go fill this up with water. Doesn't matter what water it is, hot or cold. It doesn't matter if it's really hot. Just if you are going to be using warm water, make sure it's not kettle water or anything that is, really hot to touch. If it's hotter than you can touch, then would not recommend doing it because it can obviously warp your keycaps. Just put any soap in. It doesn't matter what, hand soap, dishwashing soap, anything like that. Now once you've done that, just stir it around. I use the back of a paintbrush for this, or any long stick will do. Just make sure to swish it around. I removed my keyboard from the area just because obviously sometimes it will splash, and you don't want to obviously get water on your keycaps, especially or on your keyboard, especially when there's no keycaps on it. The keycaps can act as a layer of protection. So just swish it around, turn it around a few ways, and make sure that you're getting all the soap outside from the underside of the keycaps. Once you've done that, you should see a few bubbles. Change it going left and right. If you are going to go slightly faster, would recommend putting a top on it. When you are filling up the water, I'd recommend putting around 2 to 3 centimeters above the actual keycap so they have space to move around in the water. Once you're done, then all you've got to do is just pour the water out and then let them dry. Now this is obviously the most, time-taking part of this. You're obviously going to want to, do this on a day when you don't have anything planned, when you're going out, something like that, on a sunny day as well, because you're going to want to be leaving it in the sun. If you do have a hairdryer, you can speed this up and just get rid of this whole process. Just grab them up one by one and just hairdry them to make sure that, mainly on the underside where the stem would be going. I just put mine on the windowsill on a towel, made sure that all of the stems were facing upwards. That way you can, it will dry to the sun, and it's the main bits in the small sections of the keyboard that you obviously want to make sure that you get rid of all the water. So just space them out, make sure that's got enough space. The top bits where your fingertips will be touching, that will just all dry up from the towel, and then the undersides will get dried in the little inner cracks and stuff from the sun. Now once you've done that, you have the fun you know, the really fun and tedious process of putting them back on your keyboard. I mean, this whole process probably took me about 2 hours to do, excluding the wait time. I just went out, out for a couple of hours, came back, and they were all dry. I don't know how long it will take, depending on the sun and the temperature there. It will obviously depend, but just recommend, just go grab a hairdryer. Your parents have probably got one, or you've got one somewhere in the house. So I'd recommend using that. It's so much quicker and saves time, and you can do it, within an hour if you're doing it. So make sure that you put the spacebar on, make sure that you put all your stabilizers done quickly. I just skipped most of this and I sped this bit up so it was a lot easier for you guys to see and to stop this from being, 20 minutes long. So there you go. Putting all my final keycaps on. When you are putting your keycaps back on, I'd recommend taking a picture of it beforehand or just searching up on your phone the keycap layout so that you are able to figure out, which keycap goes where. I just pulled one up on my computer before I did it, so just so that you're able to do it. Or you can just pull up a Word document, press one down, and then see what that letter is, and then put the keycap there. So hope this was useful. If it was, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and I'll see you all in the next one. Comment down any other tutorials you guys want me to do, and I'll see you all then.